What is life? What am I living for? How should I live meaningfully? Why, how, and what should I teach? What is the nature of the learner? How do we learn? These are some of the questions you might encounter throughout the discussion of this lesson. But before I formally start the discussion, allow me to introduce myself first. Good day everyone. Good day sir. I am Marbet Toldenes Rabusa, and at this moment I will going to start the discussion of chapter 8, lesson 1, entitled Our Philosophical Heritage, the Philosophical Foundation of Education. So today, there are opposing views about educational practices. There is no general agreement about what students should learn in school in terms of virtue or prospering life. There is also no agreement on whether educational philosophies should lean towards the intellect or character of the learner. Hence, we have different types of teaching philosophies as a result. But before we dive into the different types of teaching philosophies, we need to understand first what is philosophy of education, or what is the meaning of philosophy of education. So let us define first what is the meaning of philosophy and what is the meaning of education. Philosophy, this term has been derived from two Greek words, philos and sophia. Philos means love and Sophia means wisdom. If we combine these two, philosophy means love for knowledge or passion for learning. On the other hand, education owes its origin to the Latin words educare, educer, and educatum. Educare means to nourish, to bring up, and to raise. Educer means to lead out or draw out. And educatum means the act of teaching and training. So the word education defined as the act or the process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge. It is also the preparation for life, direction, and growth. After we defined what is the meaning of philosophy and what is the meaning of education, let us now come to the meaning of philosophy of education. So the philosophy of education is a branch of philosophy that critically examines the nature of education and the problems associated with it. This philosophy also examines educational theories, the presuppositions present in them, and the arguments for and against them. In addition, the philosophy of education also draws inspirations from various disciplines like sociology, psychology, and political philosophy. In short, the philosophy of education or teaching philosophy is a set of statements that identifies and clarify the belief, values, and understanding of a teacher or an educational institution in general, wherein it establishes a definite set of aims and objectives. So kung makikita po ninyo, yung nasa screen are the different types of philosophies of educations that we are going to tackle. But in my part po, I am going to discuss or tackle about the constructivism, idealism, and lastly is realism. So we have one objective for this lesson, which is to focus on at least 7 philosophies of education. So each philosophy has its own answer to questions like what is the nature of the learner? How does he or she learn? What should I teach him or her? So over the years po, various teachers and student-centric philosophies have developed. However, all these philosophies aim to provide the best education to students. Each school of thought discusses what and how we should teach students and define the different types of teaching philosophies we use today. So now, let us discuss the philosophy of education in detail to get a better understanding. Kindly thumbs up if you are all ready to listen. So the first philosophy of education we are going to discuss is the constructivism. But first, let us define what is constructivism. So constructivism is a philosophy of learning which asserts that reality does not exist outside of human conceptions. It is the individual who constructs reality by reflecting on his own experience and gives meaning to it. So constructivism, from its root word construct, meaning gagawa or bubuo si learner o si student ng new knowledge based from his or her schema. Ano po ang schema? Schema is the pre-existing knowledge of a learner. So kung ano po yung knowledge na alam ng isang learner, then that is the schema. Let us also remember po that this constructivism is a student-centered, meaning mas nag-focus ang philosophy na ito sa mga students or sa kanyang learners rather than the teachers or the facilitators. So now, why there is a need to teach constructivism in a constructivist classroom? So, constructivists seek to develop intrinsically motivated and independent learners adequately equipped with learning skills for them to be able to construct knowledge and make meaning of them. So, bakit kailangan ang mga learners sa isang constructivist classroom ay intrinsically motivated? It is because po, intrinsic motivation is really essential. Because in reality, alam naman po natin na no matter how good the teacher is, if the learner is not motivated to learn, then no learning will take place. Kahit na anong gawin ni teacher na turuan yung students niya, if the student is not well motivated enough, then wala din pong mangyayari. So motivation must come from within. So if the learner is intrinsically motivated to learn, kahit walang nagtuturo sa kanya, he tends to learn for himself because he is desirous to learn. And as well, independent learners, kasi kahit wala si teachers, kaya ni students na matuto or mag-aral na siya lang ang mag-isa. Meaning, he is independent to learn on his own. So yun yung gustong matutunan ng isang constructivist. And to apply it in a constructivist classroom. So the next one po is what to teach. So the learners are taught how to learn. They are taught learning processes and skills such as searching, critiquing, and evaluating information. Relating these pieces of information, reflecting on the same, making meaning out of them, drawing insights, posing questions, researching, and constructing new knowledge out of these bits of information learned. So, discovery of the world po ang focus ng philosophy na ito. Dito ay tinuturuan ang mga estudyante kung paano matuto. They are taught how to learn. Kaya kung na-experience mo na po ang paggamit ng scientific method, research, and observation, then that is one of the perfect example of constructivism. So the next one po is how to teach. So in the constructivist classroom, the teachers provide students with data or experiences that allow them to hypothesize, predict, manipulate objects, pose questions, research, investigate, imagine, and invent. The constructivist classroom is interactive. It promotes dialogical exchange of ideas among learners and between teacher and learner. The teacher's role is to facilitate this process. So since constructivism po concentrates on learning how to think and understand, the learners learn how to articulate their ideas clearly by collaborating tasks effectively. So constructivism gives students ownership of what they learn since learning is based on students' questions and explorations. So for you po, to fully understand the concept of constructivism, magbibigay po ako ng isang example na naranasan na din po natin sa isang classroom setting and hindi po tayo aware na yung naranasan na po pala natin yun ay isa ng example ng constructivism. So ito po yung example. 'Di ba po sa isang room, kadalasan ay nagtatanong si teacher ng, "Okay class, do you have any idea about this topic?" And yung mga students ay kadalasan na nag-iisip kung tungkol sa question ni teacher. Then minsan may mga students na mag-a-answer kay teacher, and the students' answer are based from their experiences, from their social interactions. And that yung answer po nila yon is based from their schemas, or based po yon sa kanilang prior knowledge o yung mga bagay na kasalukuyang nalalaman nila. Another example po ng isang constructivism ay when our teacher is giving our the task, group task rather. Nagbibigay po si teacher ng isang group task, and then pag nagbigay na po siya ng topic, kadalasan sa group task na po na iyon, ina-allow ni teacher na magbigay yung bawat isa ng kanilang prior knowledge or ng kanilang idea about sa binigay niyang topic. And then yung mga idea na po iyon, pagsasama-samahin yon ng mga estudyante upang makabuo po sila ng new learning or new knowledge. Makaka-construct po sila ng new learning through their prior knowledge. So si teacher po, ina-allow niya po yung mga learners na mag-communicate with each other and then share their understanding, feelings, knowledge, and experiences to come up with a new knowledge. So dun po yung nangyayari yung constructivism. Or now on the second philosophical ideas we will going to tackle, which is the idealism. So first, what is idealism? Idealism is the belief and behavior of someone who has ideals and who tries to base their behavior on these ideals. It is a philosophical approach stating that ideas and knowledge are the only true reality. By the way, the father of idealism is Plato, and Plato believed that people should concern themselves in searching for the truth. So why there is a need to why teach idealism? It is because in idealism, the teacher plays a central role in the education process. Idealist educators believe that the teacher is responsible for creating a learning environment that promotes the intellectual, moral, and spiritual growth of students. So idealism, from its root word idea and ideal, meaning idealism is simply based on ideas, and ideas are the only true reality. It is for the idealism, ideas are the only thing worth knowing. The focus of idealism is on the mind, on the brain, and on the thinking. The next one po is what to teach in idealism. So education, idealism is a concept that values the pursuit of knowledge and the development of the individual's intellectual and moral character. The idealist approach to education emphasizes the importance of ideas, imagination, and critical thinking in the learning process. As I said earlier po, the only thing important in idealism are the ideas or the knowledge or the thinking. So it is believed that students should be taught how to think in school. The teacher passes on knowledge to the students, and the students gain and adapt the knowledge. That is why teacher plays a very special role in idealism. So another fact po is, according to idealism, lahat ng individual ay merong tinatawag na ideal self o yung mga bagay na gusto mong maabot ng iyong sarili in the near future. So bawat isa sa atin ay may pangarap. That is why teachers in a classroom setting, tinatanong tayo na, what do you want when you grow up? Kasi meron nga tayong pangarap na gusto nating maabot in the near future. At doon po pumapasok yung role ng isang teacher. Tinutulungan ni teacher na maabot yung ideal self ng isang bata, wherein the teacher po will help the child to discover the full potentials of him or her and cultivates it in order to prepare him for a better position in the society and for him to serve the society better. So, yun po yung purpose ni idealism. So, the question po is, saang subject natin kadalasang nakikita itong si idealism? So, there is an emphasis in given subjects. These are philosophy, literature, religion, and history. These subjects po will develop and enhance the mind of the learner. So the next one po is how to teach in an idealist classroom. So idealism emphasizes teacher-centered methods such as lectures, discussions, and Socratic dialogue. When we say Socratic dialogue po, it is a form of collaborative, argumentative dialogue between individuals based on asking and answering questions. So, teachers plays a central role in imparting knowledge and guiding students through thought-provoking discussions to stimulate their intellectual curiosity and engage in critical thinking. These methods are used to help students develop a deeper understanding of concepts and ideas, and to encourage them to pursue intellectual, moral, and spiritual growth. So, do you know po that the learner who believes in idealism tries to imitate the teacher who is an exemplar of an ideal person? Or yung mga tao na mayroong good sets of values? Yung students po, they tries to do the very best he can and strives toward perfection. So, hindi po pala tayo aware na minsan, yung tawag na po na sa atin ay idealist na din since ini-imitate po natin yung isang ideal person. So, when we imitate that person, tinatry natin na maging kagaya din nila. And that is one of the indication of being an idealist. Hindi lang po tayo nagiging aware minsan, but that is true according to idealism. So, para po mas maintindihan nating lahat yung concept ni idealism, I'll give an example. So, halimbawa po, if you will think or if you will imagine that you will pass the semester or even get a high grade on these final exams, then magkakatotoo po yun. And that is according to idealism. Pinupursu mo yung mga unrealistic na ideas kahit na hindi siya totoo, pero naniniwala ka. That is one indication of being an idealist po. So now, let's move on to the third philosophical ideas, which is the realism. Realism from its root word, real, something real. Meaning po itong si realism, hindi siya katulad ni idealism na naniniwala sa thinking or only to the ideas. Rather, si realism, yung pinapaniwalaan niya lang is something real. Ano tong mga something real na ito? These are those na ginagamitan ng senses. Yung mga bagay na nakikita as well nahahawakan. Kaya nga dito kay realism, naniniwala sila na to see is to believe. Kasi kung hindi naman nakikita at hindi nahahawakan, then definitely ay hindi ito dapat napaniwalaan kasi hindi ito yung katotohanan. So, why teach realism? Realist believes that knowledge is rooted in physical world, and the role of education is to help students understand and interact with the world in a meaningful way. So next is what to teach. Realism is the belief developed by Aristotle that there is an absolute reality, and educational realism attempts to teach students how to find that reality through logical processes. Study of the natural world, as well as the skill of inquiry and the scientific method are all important parts of realist classroom. That is why po the emphasis is given on subjects such as science and mathematics, since these subjects have a definite answers, or ito yung mga subjects na talagang pinag-aaralan. para lang makuha kung ano talaga yung katotohanan or kung ano yung reality. So the last one po is how to teach in a realist classroom. So to do this, they uses lectures, demonstrations, sensory experiences, recitations as well experimentations. The teacher does not do this in a random or haphazard way. He must not only introduce the student to nature, but show him the regularities, the rhythm of nature so that he may come to understand natural law. So naniniwala po si realism na mas natututo yung isang bata kung hindi lamang itinuturo yung isang bagay, kundi inaalaw yung student na gawin yung bagay na iyon or i-demonstrate niya talaga or magkaroon ng experimentation wherein the children will observe as well, will see what will happen on the experiment. Ito pong si realism, kinokontra niya si idealism because sinasabi ni realism na hindi lahat ng idea ay tama, hindi lahat ng idea ay perfect. Kasi may mga pagkakataon na kinakailangan mong mag-adjust sa reality. And that is a true reality. So, halimbawa na lamang po. For instance, sabi ni idealism, bawal ang abortion kasi sabi ng Bible nagko-commit tayo ng kasalanan or sin kapag ka nagpo-abort. But then, sabi naman po ni realism, paano naman yung mga unprecedented situations? Halimbawa, mamamatay yung nanay kapag hindi inabort yung bata. Pinipinpoint lamang po ni realism na kapag kinakailangan ng pagkakataon or kinakailangan ng sitwasyon, kinakailangan mo ding mag-adjust depending on the situation. It is a matter of life and death. So to summarize po the three philosophical ideas when we say constructivism, it is about constructing new knowledge based from the prior knowledge or the existing knowledge of the child. It is through his experiences or collaborating ideas with the other person. The next po is idealism from its root word idea or ideal. Meaning itong si idealism ay gusto niya perfect. It is about imagination, thinking, or knowledge. The only true reality in idealism is thinking or the ideas. In realism naman, it is something that is real, which is ginagamitan natin ng ating senses, ng experiences. Meron models realism na to see is to believe kasi kung hindi niya nakikita, then dapat na hindi yun pinaniniwalaan because that is not the reality. So, my discussion ends here po. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much po.
Pragmatism or pragmatic teacher believe that change will happen. Good day everyone, my name is China May H. Toldanes, Filipino major, and for today, I will going to discuss the topic pragmatism. Pragmatism was a school of philosophy that became popular in the United States in the early 20th century. This philosophy emphasized that ideas useful or practicality should be methods of measuring the merit of the idea. Today, the term pragmatic is used to describe things that are realistic and grounded. Instead of focusing on possibilities, this theory states that ideas should be judged on their practical real-world application. As educational philosophy began to grow throughout the 20th century, many people applied pragmatism to education. Application on their practical real world. So, ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin nito? Ang ibig sabihin lamang nito ay ito yung pagkatuto na hindi lamang sa loob ng paaralan na dadala, bagkus paloob o labas ng paaralan na ia-apply ng bata ang kanyang natutunan or knowledge. These theories have grown in popularity in the education field, emphasizing that teaching student practical skills can be helpful to them later in life. So, ito yung mga skills na magagamit nila in the future. Ang mga halimbawa nito ay leadership, communication skills, and writing. So, napaka-practical na skills. Paano ko ba nasabing practical? Kasi, hindi lamang siya nalilimitahan sa loob ng paaralan. Nagagamit din siya in a daily basis. Because of this theory, many schools have changed the way they teach and assess students, working to the change to your benefits. So, naniniwala ang pragmatist or pragmatism that the universe is dynamic and evolving. So, the key term here is evolving. When you evolve, you change. So, nothing can be permanent to a pragmatist. That is the base of their philosophy. They believe that truth cannot last forever. Truth must change. So, for truth to be relative, it is difficult not to accept change. And therefore, truth is relative depends on the situation, the context, the event, and the happening, etc. For example, yung mga nakilala nating tao before, kung mapapansin natin ngayon, merong changes na nangyari sa kanila. Pwedeng physically, pwedeng mentally, emotionally, kung paano na sila mag-deal in a situation. So, ang iba mas nag-better or nag-matured. Ang iba naman is the opposite than that. But, still, the change happened. Focus of pragmatism, which is experience, experiencing change, people change, thoughts, thinking, ideas. It answered the question, how does your mind, body experience the real world outside? So how does teacher apply pragmatism? Teacher can apply pragmatism by making their learning practical. Anytime they teach a topic, they should help students understand its real-world application. They can also have student practice or experience new skills or situations. Bakit? Kasi may mga teaching methods na applicable noon pero hindi na siya convenient ngayon. For example, ang teaching materials na ginagamit noon is charcoal o yung mga leaf ang ginagamit sa or ang sinusulatan. But now, since meron na tayong tinatawag na paper, papel, ballpen, so yun ang ginagamit natin. But it doesn't mean na mas less na yung importance nung mga dating teaching materials. Ang ibig sabihin lamang nito na habang tumatagal or habang lumilipas ang panahon, mas nag-i-improve at nagkakaroon ng changes. And that change is very important as we live in the present moment. So to sum up, to a pragmatist teacher, it will most easy to take change or to buy something new and go to a classroom and do something different. Unlike the idealist and realist teacher who would have difficulty dealing with change. Students should understand that change will happen and you have to be open to receive it, receive change, and make the most out of it. We often misview change as a scary things, but in reality, we need change in order to grow. Thank you for listening and I hope that you learned something from this topic.
Good day everyone, I'm Armin Taroque Justin B. And today I will be discussing the 2 out of 4 branches of Eastern philosophy. So here in Eastern philosophy, we have 4 main branches, which is Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, and Confucianism. So let's go to the Buddhism. Buddha taught that reality was ever-changing and interrelated. So ayun nga, Buddha taught that reality is constantly changing because everything in life is interconnected. Just like nga how different pieces of puzzle fit together. Kumbaga, things are linked and they keep evolving. So understanding this helps us navigate life with acceptance and mindfulness. So through meditation, he determined that people suffer because they become addicted to change and fail to recognize what truly matters in life. So, ayun nga, Buddha thought that people nga suffer because they get attached to things always changing. So, imagine your favorite dress or accessories. If you're too attached nga and it breaks, you feel sad. So, Buddha said that our attachment to things changing causes suffering. So, instead, the seeker should strive for nirvana. So, ano ba yung nirvana? So, nirvana is kumbaga ito yung the end of change and oneness with the universe. So, kumbaga, we must focus on what truly matters, like finding peace or enlightenment to be happier. So, the question is, how we can achieve po ba, no? So, this can be accomplished through both focused meditation and karmic acts. So, to reach nirvana, you can do two things. Una nga is focused meditation, and pangalawa is the good deeds. So, focused meditation is like training your mind to stay calm. So, while doing deeds like spreading kindness around. So, ayun, it's like practicing being still inside through meditation and spreading goodness outside through the good deeds, so that we can achieve a peaceful and a connected state of life. So, let's go naman to the Four Noble Truths or the four stages of suffering. So, una nga is the dukha or what we know is suffering. So, suffering is everywhere and a part of life. So, kumbaga, life has ups and downs and everyone experiences some kind of suffering and it's normal part of being a human. The second one is the samudaya or the cause of suffering. So there is a cause of suffering which is attachment or misplaced desire rooted in ignorance. So ayun, suffering often comes from wanting things to be different or holding on to stuff too tightly. Kumbaga, it's like po when you really want a certain thing and not having it makes you feel unhappy. So the third one is the nirodha or the end of suffering. So there's an end nga of suffering now which is the nirvana. So suffering can end if we learn to let go of those strong wants and attachment. Kumbaga, it's about finding contentment with what we have. So the last one is the marga or the path to end suffering. So there is a path nga that leads out of suffering known as the Noble Eightfold Path. So ano ba yung Noble Eightfold Path na to? So number one is right view or right understanding. So kumbaga, understand that wanting too much or holding onto things too tightly can lead to problems. Pangalawa is right intention. So have a good intentions and try to do things for the right reasons. Pangatlo is right speech. Speak kindly and truthfully kasi nga words can help but sometimes hurt. So it's important to choose them wisely. Number 4 is right action. Kumbaga, act in ways that are helpful and not harmful to yourself and others. Number 5 is right livelihood. Choose a job or way of living that doesn't harm others. Kumbaga, it's about making a positive contribution. Number 6 is right effort. So, put effort into doing things and avoiding the wrong things. Kumbaga, it's like steering yourself in the right direction. Number 7 is right mindfulness. So, pay attention to what's happening right now. It helps you understand yourself better. And number 8 is right concentration. Kumbaga, focus your mind and thoughts on what's important. It's like giving your full attention to one thing at a time. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path offered nga profound insights into the human condition and path to alleviate suffering. So, kumbaga, imagine you really want a new iPhone, no? So, the Four Noble Truths would say na that if you become too upset because you don't have it, that's suffering. Now, the Eightfold Path naman would suggest that instead of getting upset, you could understand that the iPhone alone will make you permanently happy. So, you might choose to focus on other things, no? Like spending time with friends or enjoying life you already have. There is a saying nga na, never let the things you want makes you forget the things you have. So, ayun, by doing this, you're following the path to reduce suffering and find contentment in life. So, what's the role nga ba of Buddhist education? So, Buddhist education aims at a personality transformation into a highest form of humanity through ethical, intellectual, and spiritual perfection. So, Buddhist education nga wants to turn people into the best version of themselves by focusing on being smart, good, and spiritually aware. So, imagine going po into a person who is kind, smart, and at peace. Kumbaga, it's like learning to be helpful, smart, and finding inner peace so that we can become an amazing person. So, these three faculties nga of perfection of human life undoubtedly lead a man through mundane happiness to supramundane happiness, which is the highest achievement we all are equally looking for. So, the three aspects nga of becoming a person who is good, smart, and spiritually aware help us move from everyday happiness to higher and the extraordinary kind of happiness that we all seek. So imagine po a person who not only finds joy in daily lives but also experiences profound fulfillment and contentment by living a life guided by kindness, intelligence, and spiritual understanding. Kumbaga po, it's about reaching a level of happiness that goes beyond the ordinary. Kumbaga, embracing a deeper sense of well-being and fulfillment. So, therefore, Buddhist education is based on what all living beings fundamentally need in their minds and hearts. And it focuses on addressing the essential psychological requirements that contribute to the well-being and the growth of individuals. Now, what is the aims of Buddhist education? So, the goal of Buddhist education is to attain wisdom. So, this means nga na understanding things deeply and making good choices in life. Kumbaga, it's like having a wise friend who gives you great advice. But with Buddhist education, no, you become that wise friends to yourself and others. So by learning and applying valuable insights. In the language nga of ancient India, Sanskrit, Buddhist wisdom was called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, which means nga the highest perfect kind of wisdom. So it's like saying that it's the most excellent and complete understanding you can achieve. Kumbaga, like reaching the top level of being really wise. The Buddha taught us nga that the main objective of our practice was to achieve this ultimate wisdom. So, kumbaga it's like aiming to understand things deeply and clearly. So, imagine po solving a Rubik's Cube. So, by figuring it out, you gain a sense of accomplishment. Similarly nga po by practicing and learning, you aim to understand life and its complexities. So, gaining the ultimate wisdom that brings a sense of fulfillment. The chief aim of Buddhist education naman is all-around development of child's personality. This includes na nga his physical, mental, moral, and intellectual development. So, Buddhist education wants to help children grow in every way, not just in school smart, but also in being healthy, kind, and thoughtful. Kumbaga po, it's like helping a plant flourish by giving it sunlight, water, good soil, and protection from harm. So, similarly lang siya in Buddhist education aims to nurture a child's physical health, mental well-being, moral values, and smart thinking to help them grow into well-rounded individuals. The other aim nga po of Buddhist education are to make a free man, a wise, intelligent, moral, non-violent, and secular man. So, Buddhist education aims to shape individuals who are free, smart, good-hearted, peaceful, and open-minded. Kumbaga, it's like helping someone to become a well-rounded person who thinks wisely, acts morally, and live peacefully without harming others. So imagine a friend who is understanding, kind, and open to different ideas. So that's the kind of a person Buddhist education aims to cultivate. So all in all po, Buddhist education strives to mold individuals into wise, compassionate, and well-rounded beings. Kumbaga, it's like a guide to become not just knowledgeable, but also morally upright, peaceful, and open-minded. In the journey of learning, may the pursuit of wisdom and holistic development lead to a life filled with understanding, kindness, and harmony. So let's move to Hinduism. Hinduism teaches that there is one ultimate reality, and the goal of each individual soul is to realize truth. So Hinduism teaches that there is one ultimate reality nga. So it's like a big cosmic force called the Brahman. So the aim for every person is to understand the truth about life and the universe. Kumbaga, it's like realizing that all waves in the oceans are connected to the same water. So in Hinduism, it's about recognizing our connection to the ultimate reality and understanding the deeper truth of existence. Unlike most Western religions, Hinduism permits multiple paths to this realization, whether nga monist or dualist. So in Hinduism, you can reach nga the ultimate realization in different ways. Unlike sa Western religions that often have a single path. Kumbaga, it's like having a various routes to get to the top of the mountain. Some might prefer nga a straight path, other a winding one. So, but they all lead naman to the same summit. Similarly nga sa Hinduism, kumbaga, it acknowledge different approaches, whether focusing on oneness of everything or recognizing a divine duality, to reach nga the goal of realizing the ultimate truth. So despite having these different sects, Hinduism's goal remained the same, which is the self-realization through seeking awareness, understanding, and connection with the ultimate reality. Almost all in ancient philosophy nga seeks enlightenment through self-discovery. So most ancient philosophy nga aims to find wisdom by understanding oneself better. Kumbaga, it's like going on a journey to discover who you truly are. So for example, think of it as exploring your own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Kumbaga po, it's like reading a book about yourself. So siguro po you're wondering why they prefer the self-discovery, no? So, self-discovery po kasi leads to self-realization and a deeper connection with the fundamental truths of existence. So, by knowing one's thoughts, emotions, and motivations, individuals can overcome ignorance, achieve inner harmony, and align themselves with the profound aspects of life. Kumbaga po, it's like a journey of self-discovery that brings clarity, inner peace, and a sense of purpose. So, by doing this po, you seek enlightenment and a deeper understanding of life. So, what are the characteristics po ba of Indian philosophy? So, una na nga dyan is, it is a anti-empirical and deals only with ultimate reality. So, in Indian philosophy is anti-empirical, meaning it doesn't rely solely on observable facts and experiences. Kumbaga, instead, it delves into understanding the ultimate reality beyond what our senses can perceive. Kumbaga, it's like recognizing that there's more to a book than just its cover. So, in Indian philosophy, goes beyond the surface and explores the deeper and the unseen aspects of existence. The second one is polytheistic and pantheistic. So in Hinduism, being polytheistic means believing in many gods like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So each god nga represent different things like creation, preservation, and destruction. So at the same time naman po, Indian philosophy is also pantheistic, signifying a belief that the divine is present in everything in the universe. Kumbaga po, it's like believing that every tree and living being is a part of the divine. So it's not just worshiping gods individually, but recognizing the sacred in the entire natural world as a manifestation of the divine force. The next one is the philosophy and action are combined in the practice of yoga, or the search for the true self. So in yoga, the ultimate aim nga is harmony. So as we can see in the presentation, the self-discipline is like having a good control over yourself. So this connects nga to maintain the right body posture, which is how you sit or stand. So when your posture is correct, it helps you naman to concentrate better on your body and senses. So self-discipline also relates to proper breathing. So when you breathe well, it connects naman to meditation. Kumbaga, a focused state of mind. So it's like a chain. Discipline helps with posture. Posture helps with concentration. and discipline also connects through proper breathing, which in turn is linked to a meditative state. So all these elements work together to bring about harmony in body and mind. So practicing yoga nga combines thinking deeply about life with doing specific action na physical posture and breathing exercise. Kumbaga po, it's like a journey to discover your true self, thinking about it and actively doing things that help you understand and connect with who you really are. So imagine it is a blend of thoughtful reaction and physical activity working together to find inner harmony and truth. So all in all, in Hindu philosophy, the journey is a quest for understanding the self and the universe. Kumbaga, it's a tapestry woven with diverse threads like devotion, knowledge, and disciplined living. So embracing the richness of multiple gods and recognizing the divine in everything. Hindu philosophy offers pathways to spiritual growth, harmony, and enlightenment. So may the pursuit of truth and the discovery of one's true self lead to a life filled with wisdom, compassion, and profound connection to the world. And that's it po for my part. Once again, I'm Armin Taroca Justin B from BSE 2I. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Erica Alsalas from BSC2I, and now I will tackle about experimentalism and Confucianism. Experimentalism. Education should be a study of social problems and how it is solved. Experience anything to learn it. Education should be a study of social problems and how it is solved. Education is as important as one of the factors in resolving a social problems. However, education by itself cannot solve these problems, as students will solve these problems. Believes that things are constantly changing. It is based on the view that reality is what works right now and that goodness comes from group decisions. Experience anything to learn it. Experiential learning is the process of learning by doing, by engaging students in hands-on experiences and reflection. They are better able to connect theories and knowledge learned in the classroom to real-world situations. So as a result, a school exists to discover and expand the society we live in. Students study social experiences and solve problems. If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. John Dewey. John Dewey is a philosopher, psychologist, and education reformer. Boring learning modules that rely on outdated techniques to impart knowledge to students is one of the biggest reasons for the failure of most upskilling programs. What experimentalism is? Experimentalism is associated with a very broad but shallow curriculum, many electives, few required subjects. Based on the pragmatic philosophy of Charles Peirce and William James, experimentalism proposed that children learn by observing the consequences of their actions, such that learning became a conscious transaction between learner and environment. Experimentalism is friendly to educational research, and many new ideas comes from it. Experimentalism is the philosophical belief that the way to truth is through experiments and empiricism. It is also associated with instrumentalism, the belief that truth should be evaluated based upon its demonstrated usefulness. Experimentalism can be wasteful of resources. It can also fail to follow through. In Dewey alternative experimentalist form of education, student thinking replaces rote memorization and shallow understanding at center stage. From the start, students are situated in activities that require them to experiment with ideas as they pursue ends that matters to them. What experimentalism should teach? Everything, anything that had any relation to students' possible futures. John Dewey formulated his educational ideas more than 100 years ago, and they retain great historical and philosophical interest today. This paper focuses on thinking in Dewey's approach to education, and then considers how digital tools and the internet can enhance it. Has been accused of trying to do the Holmes job. This undertaking will first require some delineation of Dewey's educational ideas. As Cobb 1959 noted, Dewey's experimentalist approach has often been misunderstood, misrepresented, and misapplied. Most of what has been said by and for educators in the same of Dewey has consisted of distorted shadows and blurred images of the original doctrine. The situation has not improved since. So, before turning to digital technology, an account of the main features of Dewey's experimentalist approach and the specific place of thinking are in order. We can also practice experimentalism in classroom management. Don't like assertive discipline. When we say assertive discipline, it is an approach to classroom management, which is to assist teachers to have an organized, teacher in charge classroom environment which prevents discipline problems. For instance, asking someone on a date approaching a teacher with a question, "Are you doing well in a job or college interview?" Prefer more constructivistic approaches such as discipline with dignity. So when we say constructivistic approaches, it allows pairs of students to teach each other. Learners pose their own questions and seeks answer to their questions via research and direct observation. Where experimentalism shines, when essentialism or perennialism have been in power for so long, school programs have become stagnant. When school has become all work and no play. It is important to balance schoolwork and play. In elementary, it can be the recess, but for us college students, it is known for icebreaker. So why it is important? It can help us students to improve our mental and physical health so as to improve our academic performances. When traditional methods have become ineffective. Why is it so? That experimentalism shines when traditional methods become ineffective. Because of lack in engagement, it causes academic boredom, for instance, often characterized by long lectures and endless reading assignment, which can quickly become religious and encouraging for students. Confucianism. So, what is Confucianism? Confucianism, a religion of optimistic humanism, has had a monumental impact upon the life, social culture, and political philosophy of China. Confucius was born in an era of philosophical creativity. The founding of the religion goes back to one man, known as Confucius, born 500 years ago before Christ. Confucianism is defined primarily with moral conduct and ethical living and is often categorized as an ethical system rather than a religion. It emphasizes the earthly, not the heavenly. How popular is Confucianism? Confucianism is one of three most popular religions in China, next to Taoism and Buddhism. However, Confucianism is seen more so as a school of philosophy. Many of the beliefs that come from this philosophy are embedded into the traditions of everyday life for China. The rulers and subjects of the various regions sought for knowledge and power in uncertain times, although it wasn't until after his death, Confucius, that his philosophy was truly put into practice. Traditional philosophical schools are not very strict in practice today. There are still majority of schools in China, Japan, and Vietnam that have a modern twist on the teaching of Confucianism. What does Confucius' educational theory consist of? Theory of value. What knowledge and skills are worthwhile learning? What are the goals of education? Theory of knowledge. What is knowledge? How is it different from belief? What is a mistake? What is a lie? Theory of human nature. What is a human being? How encouraging for students. Confucianism. So, what is Confucianism? Confucianism, a religion of optimistic humanism, has had a monumental impact upon the life, social culture, and political philosophy of China. Confucius was born in an era of philosophical creativity. The founding of the religion goes back to one man, known as Confucius, born 500 years ago before Christ. Confucianism is defined primarily with moral conduct and ethical living and is often categorized as an ethical system rather than a religion. It emphasizes the earthly, not the heavenly. How popular is Confucianism? Confucianism is one of three most popular religions in China, next to Taoism and Buddhism. However, Confucianism is seen more so as a school of philosophy. Many of the beliefs that come from this philosophy are embedded into the traditions of everyday life for China. The rulers and subjects of the various regions sought for knowledge and power in uncertain times, although it wasn't until after his death, Confucius, that his philosophy was truly put into practice. Traditional philosophical schools are not very strict in practice today. There are still majority of schools in China, Japan, and Vietnam that have a modern twist on the teaching of Confucianism. What does Confucius' educational theory consist of? Theory of value. What knowledge and skills are worthwhile learning? What are the goals of education? Theory of knowledge. What is knowledge? How is it different from belief? What is a mistake? What is a lie? Theory of human nature. What is a human being? How does it differ from other species? What are the limits of human potential? Theory of learning. What is learning? How are skills and knowledge required? Theory of transmission. Who is to teach? By what methods? What will the curriculum be? Theory of society. What is society? What institutions are involved in the educational process? Theory of opportunity. What is to be educated? Who is it to be schooled? Theory of consensus. Why do people disagree? How is consensus achieved? Whose opinion takes precedence? What are some of the concepts of Confucius' teachings? The Golden Rule. Not to do to others what you would not like done to yourself. The Golden Rule. This praise is passed on from generation to generation as a means of providing morality, since most of the recipients have a sense of empathy. The message is generally well received. Morality is our set of guidelines on how to live and what is right and wrong. For the majority of life, I have abided by this golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. For example, don't break into someone's house and steal their possessions unless you want someone to do that to you. There are many messages that can be drawn from this rule, but there are three main conclusions. Don't treat others badly unless you want to be treated badly. If you put nothing in, then you will get nothing out. And if you are kind and grateful, then others will be the same in return. Essentially, the most commonly drawn conclusion from the Golden Rule is don't treat others badly unless you want the same happen to you. To make the same education available to students of all classes, even today, China possesses equalized education. The shift to rapid and pragmatic economic development as the overriding national goal in the late of 1970s quickly affected China's educational system. The Chinese educational structure provides for 6 years of primary school, 3 years each of lower secondary school and upper secondary school, and 4 years in standards university curriculum. All urban schools are financed by the state, while rural schools depends more heavily on their own financial resources. Moral education is most valued as it is means by which one can rectify the situation and restore meaning to language and values to society. Values or moral education as a subject on evaluative reasoning entails a different style and content of teaching. It requires a teaching method that promotes rational, liberal, and independent thinking about evaluative issues. The teaching material should introduce the principles of logic and rules of good reasoning that must be applied in tackling practical issues. Values or moral education in this form could effectively change its notoriety as a simple instrument of values transmission or inculcation, where traditionally a set of values is promoted by an authority figure, the teacher or school authorities, and embedded by the students. What does Confucius-based curriculum include? The five classics defines the coming of age of the Confucian tradition. They can be described in terms of five visions, combining social and emotional skills with academic abilities such as learning strategies and perseverance can help students. Metaphysical combines divinatory art with numerological technique and ethical insight. According to the philosophy of change, the cosmos is a transformation occasioned by the constant interaction of the two complementary as well as conflicting life forces. Political presents kingship in terms of the ethical foundation for human government. Politics means moral persuasion, and the purpose of the government is not only to provide food and maintain order, but also to educate. Poetic. The basic theme of this poetic world is mutual responsiveness. The majority of verses give voice to emotions and sentiments of communities and persons from all levels of society expressed on a variety of occasions. Social shows society not as an adversarial system based on contractual relationships, but as a community of trust with emphasis on communication. Society organized by the four functional occupations: the scholar, the farmer, the artisan, and the merchant, as a contributing member of cooperation. Each person is obligated to recognize the existence of others and to serve the public good. Historical emphasizes the significance of collective memory for communal self-identification. Confucius' emphasis on the importance of history was in a way his reappropriation of the ancient Semitic wisdom that reanimating the.
I am Marimar Arnatay. I will be discussing about the Taoism and Zen Buddhism. So, what is Taoism or Daoism? Taoism or Daoism is a diverse tradition indigenous to China, variously characterized as both a philosophy and a religion. Taoism emphasizes living in harmony with what is known as the Tao, generally understood as being the impersonal, enigmatic process of transformation ultimately underlying reality. So let me give you some recap of history of Taoism. The history of Taoism stretches throughout Chinese history, originating in prehistoric China. It has exerted a powerful influence over Chinese culture. Throughout the ages, Taoism evolved in response to changing times, with its doctrine and associated practices being revised and refined. The acceptance of Taoism by the ruling class has waxed and waned, alternately enjoying periods of favor and rejection. Most recently, Taoism has emerged from a period of suppression and is undergoing a revival in China. So next is sinologist Isabel Robinet identifies four components in the emergence of Taoism. First is philosophical Taoism. the Tao Te Ching and Zhuangzi. Second is techniques for achieving ecstasy. Third is practices for achieving longevity or immortality. The last is exorcism. So Tao Te Ching or Tao Te Ching is a foundational text in both philosophical and religious forms of Taoism. Alongside the Zhuangzi, it has also had a strong influence on other schools of philosophy and religion throughout Chinese history, including legalism, Confucianism, and particularly Chinese Buddhism, whose interpretations largely use Taoist terminology upon its original introduction to the country. So in Zhuangzi, the main themes are freedom from the human world and its conventions. So next is techniques for achieving ecstasy. So dito, halimbawa na rito ay ang meditation. So familiar naman tayo kung ano ang meditation, 'di ba? So sa Taoism, ang meditation ay ito yung ginagawa nila habang nakaupo. Nire-relax at fino-focus nila ang sarili nila. So third is practices for achieving longevity or immortality. So they manifest for achieving longevity or immortality. They want to prolong their lives, unlike here in Philippines, nagmamanifest tayo na mamatay agad. While in Taoism, they want a long life here in earth. So last is exorcism. It is very common naman to us, diba? Lalo na kapag you love watching horror or K-drama. One of the example of exorcism drama, The Alchemy of Soul. Exorcism are performed when an individual has been possessed by an evil. So, ano nga ba ang edukasyon para sa mga Taoism? So, for Taoist, education is a solo guest without walls or boundaries. The Taoist seeks to understand the naturalness of everything as it exists in the present. Additionally, the role of teacher in Taoism is to support different achievements and personal development and equip students with the ability and confidence, such as to be happy, healthy, and successful, both inside and outside of the classroom. So let's come now on Zen Buddhism. So what is Zen Buddhism? Zen is a school of Buddhism which emphasizes the practice of meditation as the key ingredient to awakening one's inner nature, compassion, and wisdom. The practice of meditation, or Zen in Japanese, as a means of attaining enlightenment was introduced, as we have seen, by the Buddha himself. So same with Taoism. They do the meditation to awake one's inner nature, compassion, and wisdom. So kanina, nagbigay ako about the history of Taoism. So now I will give you again some recap of history of Zen Buddhism. So Zen Buddhism, or Zen, traces its origins to India, but it was formalized in China, or Chan, as it is known in China, was transmitted to Japan and took root there in the 13th century. Chan was enthusiastically received in Japan, especially by the samurai class that wielded political power at this time, and it became the most prominent form of Buddhism between the 14th and 16th centuries. The immigrant Chinese prelates were educated men who introduced not only religious practices but also Chinese literature, calligraphy, philosophy, and ink painting to their Japanese disciples, who often in turn traveled to China for further study. So, madaming bansa ang pinanggalingan nito, no? So, Zen Buddhism's emphasis on simplicity and the importance of the natural world generated a distinctive aesthetic which is expressed by the terms wabi and sabi. When we say Zen Buddhisms, it is emphasis or the main prior is simplicity, being distinctive aesthetic that express the term wabi and sabi. So for those who didn't know about wabi and sabi are used to express a sense of rusticity, melancholy, loneliness, naturalness, and age, so that a mishapen worn peasant jar is considered more beautiful than a pristine, carefully crafted dish. So when we say rusticity means peaceful or peacefulness, and melancholy means sadness. So, itong wabi and sabi ay nag-express ng iba't ibang emotions. So, next, while the latter pleases the senses, the former stimulates the mind and emotions to contemplate the essence of reality. This artistic sensibility has had an enormous impact on Japanese culture up to modern times. So, kanina sa Taoism, ang education is walang mga boundaries or walls. So, sa Zen Buddhism naman, the education is to emphasis on physical, mental, and spiritual development. So, religious talaga sila, ano? So, additionally, the ethical techniques of Zen Buddhism is to take up the way of not killing, not stealing, not speaking falsely, and so on. So, that's all for my part. So, once again, I am Marimar Arnatay. Thank you.
Christian philosophy. Christian philosophy includes all philosophy carried out by Christians or in relation to the religion of Christianity. Christian philosophy emerged with the aim of reconciling science and faith, steering from natural rational explanation with the help of Christian revelation. This approach recognizes the importance of both reason and faith in understanding the world and addressing philosophical questions. Christian philosophy has also sought to address philosophical challenges to religious faith, such as the problem of evil, the nature of God, and the compatibility of free will and divine sovereignty. Sought to provide reasoned responses to these challenges while remaining grounded in Christian revelation. Christian philosophy has aimed to reconcile science and faith by utilizing reason and philosophical inquiry to explore the natural world and its connection to Christian revelation. Seeks to demonstrate that a harmonious integration of scientific knowledge and religion beliefs is possible, enriching both our understanding of the world and our faith. And the next one is a Saracen philosophy. Saracen was a term used by European Christians during Middle Ages to refer to Muslim, usually Arabs, Turks, and Iranians. They also began 600 years after the birth of Christ. Muhammad took its roots on Arabia. Saracen philosophy is not a widely recognized or commonly used term in the field of philosophy. Historically, the term Saracen was used in the medieval Europe to refer Muslims, particularly those from the Arab world. Or, if we interpret Saracen philosophy as a philosophy developed by Muslim scholars during the medieval period, we can discuss the contribution of Islamic philosophy. Islamic philosophy refers to the philosophical traditions that emerged within the Islamic world, primarily during the medieval Islamic Golden Age, 8th to 14th centuries. Islamic philosophers engage in various philosophical disciplines including metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, philosophy of mind, and philosophy of science. So let's come now to perennialism. So what does perennialism mean in education? In education, perennialism is the teaching of everlasting or evergreen ideas. Perennialism as a teacher centered in subject-based approach is the opposite of progressivism, which focuses on students' needs and experiences in current times. Rather, perennialism is focused on the development of the mind through theory and timeless principles that teach what it means to be human. And the next, what is the role of the teacher in perennialism? In perennialism, the teacher uses a subject and instruction based format in which all students are treated the same and in which the content is the focus. Essentialist teachers are not worried about differentiation or individualism, rather, they are focused on the teaching of universal truths, support intellect above all else. And the last one, what are the characteristics of perennialism? Perennialism in education includes the teaching of evergreen ideas or principles that have remained constant throughout human history. Perennialist teachers support students to participate in the great conversation, which is the dialogue that takes place within classical works and that transcends time. For example, Shakespeare's Macbeth teaches us about the danger of ambition and corruption in the government.
Good day, sir, and good day, everyone. My name is Jeremy Vasquez. I will be discussing the essentialism and existentialism. Essentialism, why teach? Teachers teach for learners to acquire basic knowledge, skills, and values. Essentialism tries to instill all students with the most essential or basic academic knowledge and skills and character development. Essentialists believe that teachers should try to embed traditional moral values and virtues such as respect for authority, perseverance, fidelity to duty, consideration for others, and practicality and intellectual knowledge that students need to become model citizens. So for them, very important ang acquisition of basic knowledge, skills, and values. What to teach? Essentialist programs are academically rigorous curriculum centered. The emphasis is on academic content for the student to learn the basic skills or the fundamental 4 R's, the reading, writing, arithmetic, and right conduct, as these are essentials to the acquisition of higher or more complex skills needed in preparation for adult life. So, yung essentialism, it's actually a traditional approach or back to basic skills or the fundamental skills like the 4 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, and right conduct. So that's the very focus of essentialist classroom. The teacher job is to make sure that student would acquire these four basic skills because according to essentialist, if the student or if a pupil acquire these four essential skills, it would just be very easy for this student to acquire higher or more complex skills needed in preparation for adult life. So how could a person adapt or acquire more complex skills if this person does not acquire the basic ones? So you have got to be equipped with the basic skills before you can acquire more complicated skills.
So ano naman yung mga pinag-aaralan dito sa Essentialist Classroom? The foundation of Essentialist curriculum is based on traditional disciplines such as math, natural science, history, foreign language, and literature. The teachers and administrators decide what is most important for the student to learn without considering student interest, background, and learning styles. So, teachers and administrators decide what is most important for the student to learn and place little emphasis on the student interest. Students are given less chance to express themselves. Why? Because teachers are deemed as the source of information. Si teachers yung always na nagsasalita sa gitna. Si teachers yung always na nagsasabi kung ano yung gagawin. So, gagawin lang ng estudyante ay sunod lang ng sunod. The role of the teacher, an essentialist teacher, is the source of information. Si teachers ang pinakamagaling sa loob ng classroom.
How to teach? Essentialist teachers emphasize mastery of subject matter. Essentialist teachers indeed place a strong emphasis on the mastery of subject matter. They believe that students should acquire a solid foundation of knowledge and skills in core academic subjects. These teachers prioritize the transmission of essential knowledge and focus on ensuring that students have a deep understanding of the subject matter. Teachers are seen as fountain of information and as a paragon of virtue. Teachers are often seen as a fountain of information. In an essentialist approach, teachers are expected to possess a comprehensive understanding of the subject they teach and serve as the primary source of information for their student. They are responsible for delivering the necessary content and ensuring that students grasp the fundamental concepts. Additionally, teachers are also expected to embody the qualities of a paragon of virtue. This means that they are expected to demonstrate exemplary behavior and uphold high moral and ethical standards. Essentially, teachers are seen as role models for their students and are expected to instill values such as discipline, responsibility, and respect for authority. Rely heavily on the use of prescribed textbook method, the drill method, the lecture method, and memorization. In terms of teaching methods, essentially teachers often rely heavily on the use of prescribed textbook. These textbooks serve as a structured resource that provides a systematic approach to teaching the subject matter. The drill method, which involves repetitive practice and reinforcement of key concepts, is commonly used to ensure mastery of the material. The lecture method is also frequently employed with the teacher delivering information through direct instruction. Memorization is another aspect of essentialist teaching. Students are expected to memorize facts, formulas, and other essential information to demonstrate their understanding and mastery of the subject. This approach aims to provide a solid knowledge base that students can build upon their academic journey. So, yung belief nila, so very traditional itong essentialism. But of course, meron pa din naman siyang positive effects. Say for example, because of their kinds of teaching, students tends to master basic knowledge, skills, and values which are prerequisite to complicated concept. Another to take note in essentialism is teacher-centered. Why is it teacher-centered? It's because teachers play a greater role and even greater than the student. Actually, halos lahat ng teacher gumagawa ng trabaho. So, that is essentialism. Next is existentialism, proposed by Jean-Paul Sartre, and the defining feature of existentialism is existence precedes essence. The concept of existence precedes essence is a fundamental idea. It suggests that individuals exist first and then define their essence or purpose through their choices and actions. Unlike other philosophical perspectives that propose a predetermined essence or nature for individuals, existentialism argues that humans are not born with a fixed purpose or predetermined meaning in life. Instead, individuals have the freedom to shape their own lives and determine their own essence through their actions and choices. This concept challenges the notion of a universal human nature or essence. According to existentialism, there is no inherent meaning or purpose to life that applies to all individuals. Each person must create their own meaning and purpose based on their unique experiences, values, and beliefs. Why teach? The role of the teacher is to guide the student to help student understand themselves and as well as their potentials, their skills, and the teachers have to help the student appreciate themselves as unique individuals born uniquely differently from the rest of the world. And another thing, the existentialists also believe that this student must be taught how to accept complete responsibility of their thoughts, feelings, and actions. So no matter what happens, the student must accept the fact that they have to be responsible for whatever it is that happened in their life. So what is the role of the existentialist teacher? The existentialist teacher's role is to help the student define their own essence by exposing them to various paths they take in life and by creating an environment in which they freely choose their own preferred way. The role of an existentialist teacher is ended focus on helping students define their own essence or purpose in life. They aim to create an environment that encourages students to explore various paths and make choices that align with their own values and beliefs. One way an existentialist teacher can help students define their own essence is by exposing them to a wide range of experiences and perspectives. They may introduce students to different subjects, ideas, and ways of thinking, allowing them to explore and discover what resonates with them personally. By presenting diverse options, the teachers encourage students to critically examine different paths and make informed choices based on their own interests and passions. Creating an environment where students have the freedom to choose their own preferred way is another important aspect of the existentialist teacher's role. This involved fostering an atmosphere of open dialogue, respect, and acceptance. The teachers encourages students to express their thoughts, opinions, and individuality without fear of judgment or conformity. By providing this space for self-expression, the teachers empower students to make choices that align with their true selves and allows them to develop a sense of autonomy and authenticity. The existentialist teachers also plays a crucial role in guiding students through the process of self-discovery and decision-making. They may engage students in reflective discussions, encourage critical thinking, and help them explore their values, interests, and goals. The teacher acts as a facilitator offering guidance and support as a student navigate their own unique paths. Since feeling is not divorced from reason and decision making, the existentialist demands that education of the whole person, not just the mind. So the feeling and reason are interconnected in decision making. The existentialist perspective emphasizes the importance of educating the whole person, not just focusing on intellectual development. It recognizes that our emotion and values play a significant role in shaping our choices and actions. By considering the emotional and existential aspect of education, we can cultivate individuals who are not only knowledgeable but also self aware, empathetic, and capable of making meaningful decisions. This holistic approach to education helps individuals develop a deeper understanding of themselves, their values, and their place in the world. Incorporating emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and ethical considerations into education can empower individuals to navigate complex situations, understand the perspective of others, and make choices that align with their authentic selves. It encourages personal growth, empathy, and a sense of responsibility towards oneself and society. What is to be taught in an existentialist classroom? What to teach? So, students are given a wide variety of options from which to choose from. Kasi nga, nag-expect na yung existentialist teacher that student are never the same. And because of that, you cannot expect one to conform with what other student like to be begin with. So, pipili lang yung mga estudyante kung ano yung gusto nila. Hindi din pinipilit ng teacher na tapusin, for example, yung isang activity just because wala nang time. So, learning is self-directed, learning is self-paced. More importantly, creativity and self-expression are celebrated in an existentialist classroom. Kasi nga, iba-iba nandyan yung uniqueness. Therefore, nagfa-follow dyan yung creativity and self-expression. So, prerequisite sa existentialist classroom is the better understanding of the self ng mga bata. So, kailangan na makilala ng mga bata yung sarili nila in a way na they will have a knowledge of their own weaknesses and strength as a starting point of becoming better. Teacher helps student define their essence. So it is not the teacher that define the essence of the student. The teacher just help the student define their own essence. You help the student find their own purpose and you help them unleash this potential. That is why it is very essential that you develop them holistically so that they would become good decision makers. Because kapag ang isang tao nag-decide gamit ang utak at puso, then ang decision talaga niya would be the best decision that we could ever come up with. How to teach? Teachers should not impose values to since values are personal. So, values are personal and should not be imposed by teachers. It is important to respect the individuality and autonomy of student when it comes to their values and beliefs. Education should create an environment where students can explore and develop their own values rather than having them imposed upon them. So regarding the idea of learning being self-paced and self-directed, there is merit in recognizing that every individual has unique learning styles, interests, and abilities, allowing students to have some control over their learning process can foster a sense of ownership and motivation. When students are actively engaged in their own learning, they are more likely to retain information and develop critical thinking skills. In this context, teachers can indeed act as facilitators, guiding and supporting students in their learning journey. They can create a conducive environment that encourages curiosity, creativity, and independent thinking. Teachers can provide resources, guidance, and feedback to help students navigate their own learning paths. However, it is also important to acknowledge that teachers play a crucial role in providing structure, knowledge, and guidance. They bring expertise and experience to the classroom, ensuring that students are exposed to a wide range of subjects and perspectives. Teachers can help students develop essential skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, and effective communication. While students should have some autonomy in their learning, it is also important for teachers to strike a balance between facilitating and guiding the learning process. They can provide a framework and support that allows students to explore their interests and develop their own values, while also ensuring that they acquire the necessary knowledge and skills. So that's all po for my part. Thank you.
Good day everyone. Once again, my name is Chinamy H. Toldanes, and today I will going to discuss the topic about progressivism. So what is progressivism? It emphasizes the importance of student-centered learning, experimental learning, and the development of critical thinking skills. So according to progressivists, students should be actively involved in their own learning process and should encourage to think critically and creatively. Also, progressivists believe that education should be based on the needs and interests of the student and should be designed to help them become responsible and active member of society. Key principles of progressivism in education. First is the student-centered learning. As I mentioned earlier, it is about learning process that encourage the student to think critically. Second is experimental learning. Progressivism emphasizes the importance of experimental learning. Why? Because according to this philosophy, students should be given the opportunity to learn through hands-on experience and real-world activities. Third is critical thinking skills. According to philosophy, students should be encouraged to question assumptions, analyze information, and develop their own ideas and opinions. So what is critical thinking? For the most part, however, we think of critical thinking as the process of analyzing facts in order to form a judgment. Basically, it's thinking about thinking. Why is critical thinking important? So the decision that you make affects the quality of life. And if you want to ensure that you live your best, most successful and happy life, you're going to want to make conscious choices that can be done with a simple thing known as critical thinking. Here's how to improve your critical thinking skills and make decisions that you won't regret. Fourth is active learning. According to philosophy, students should encourage to participate in discussions, debate, and other activities that promote learnings. And the last one is community involvement. Students should be encouraged to participate in community activities and should be taught to be responsible and active member of society. What are the practices of progressivism in education? Number 1 is project-based learning. Project-based learning is a key practice of progressivism. According to this philosophy, students should be given the opportunity to work on real-world projects that are designed to help them develop critical thinking skills and learn through hands. Number 2 is inquiry-based learning. So what is inquiry-based learning? Inquiry-based learning is another key practice of progressivism. According to this philosophy, students should be encouraged to ask questions, explore ideas, and develop their own understanding of the world around them. Number 3 is student-led discussions. Progressivism emphasizes the importance of student-led discussions. According to this philosophy, students should be encouraged to participate in discussions and debates and should be given the opportunity to share their own ideas and opinions. And number 4 is active participation. Progressivism emphasizes the importance of active participation because students should be encouraged to participate in their own learning process and should be given the opportunity to take ownership of their education. So what are the impact of progressivism on modern education? Student-centered learning, experiential learning, which many modern schools offer programs and activities that are designed to help students learn through real-world activities, experience, such as internship, community service project, and studied abroad programs. Active learning, so many classrooms encourage active learning with emphasizing student participation on discussion. Technology integration, many schools integrating technology into the classroom with an emphasis of using technology to enhance student learning and engagement. And lastly, standard-based education. Many modern schools are adopting standard-based education, which emphasizes the importance of setting clear learning objectives and assessing student progress based on those objectives. So, in conclusion, progressivists believe that individuality, progress, and change are fundamental to one's education, believing that people learn best from what they considered most relevant to their lives. Reconstructionism, also known as social reconstructionism, is a philosophical approach to education that emphasizes the role of education in creating social change. Reconstructionism is rooted in the belief that education should be used as a means of addressing social problems and promoting progressive social change. The term Reconstructionism comes from the idea that education should be used to reconstruct society and address the problems that exist with. Reconstructionists believe that education should be focused on identifying and addressing social issues such as poverty, inequality, and discrimination, and that education should be used as a means of promoting social justice and creating a more equitable and just society. The Reconstructionist approach to education is based on several key principles. This includes emphasis on social change. Reconstructionists believe that education should be focused on addressing social problems and promoting social change. Critical thinking. Reconstructionists emphasize the importance of critical thinking in education. They believe that students should be encouraged to question and analyze the world around them and to think critically about social issues and problems. Student-centered approach. They believe that students should be encouraged to take an active role in their own learning and to be engaged in the learning process. Integrated curriculum. Reconstructionists believe that education should be interdisciplinary and that curriculum should be integrated. They believe that students should be taught how to make connection between different subject areas and how to apply their learning in the real-world problems. Community involvement. Reconstructionists believe that education should be closely tied to the community. They believe that school should be involved to local community and that students should be encouraged to participate in community service and other form of civic engagement. So let's dive deeply. Reconstructionism has its root in the progressive education movement of the early 20th century, which emphasized the importance of education in promoting social change and addressing social problems. Reconstructionism emerged as a distinct philosophical approach to education in the 1930s and 1940s, and has it seems become influential approach to education in many countries around the world. Reconstructionism has been criticized by some of its emphasis on social change and its perceived political agenda. Critics argue that Reconstructionism can be divisive and that it can be difficult to achieve consensus on what constitutes social justice or social change. Some also argue that Reconstructionism can be too focused on problem solving and can neglect other important aspects of education, such as development of basic skills and knowledge. In conclusion, despite of this criticism, Reconstructionism remained a popular and influential approach to education. Many educators and policymakers see Reconstructionism as to promote social justice and create a more equitable and just society. With this emphasis on critical thinking, student-centered learning, and community involvement, Reconstructionism offers a powerful framework for educators who are committed to promote social change through education. And that's all for Lesson 1, Chapter 8. Thank you for listening.